I think that we're in this kind of holding pattern where there isn't any path to registering a legitimate digital currency that will be acceptable to the regulators. But, and the existing stuff is not acceptable. So there's going to have to be a transition over the next 24 to 48 months. And eventually, now I would say eventually we'll see trillions of dollars circulating on mobile phones that will be a digital currency. And it will be something different, something in between what truly permissionless cryptocurrency is and then what the CBDC thing might be.
MicroStrategy co-founder and executive chairman, Michael Saylor, recently shared his thoughts on the potential launch of a central bank digital currency in the United States. In an interview, Saylor expressed concerns about the drawbacks of a digital dollar, such as extensive surveillance of individuals' spending habits. He believes that these concerns will generate significant interest in Bitcoin, the world's largest decentralized cryptocurrency. Saylor stated that while the majority of the population and a considerable number of politicians are against CBDC, there is a small faction that aims to exert control over everyone and mistrusts individuals. He expressed doubts about politicians reaching a consensus on a US CBDC in the near future and predicted a heated congressional debate on the matter. Saylor also questioned how long it would take the government to develop a digital version of the dollar from a technical perspective. Nevertheless, as the technology progresses, he believes more people will realize the government and private sector's ability to monitor and restrict the flow of cash, impeding individuals' freedom to spend their capital. Saylor strongly opposes the introduction of CBDCs, particularly in the United States, and highlights the reasons behind his stance in the video.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Right now, the only form of digital dollar circulating is cryptocurrency, like stablecoin. And that represents one extreme, which is the dollar circulating non-KYC in a dark pool. The other extreme would be a CBDC, a dollar issued centrally by the government, controlled by the government, where they have transparency and control of every transaction. I think that politically, the libertarians would like to see the former. They'd like to see cryptocurrency circulating with zero control and oversight. I think that the authoritarians would probably like to see the latter. They'd like to see the currency circulating with complete government oversight. I think that in the political world, there's a lot of resistance to the CBDC. I don't think that we'll find a majority of politicians in either the Democratic or the Republican Party that will support a complete CBDC. So I think that it's a non-starter on Capitol Hill. I think the Republicans would block it, but I think the Democrats would block it too. And I think ultimately the banking establishment won't want it either, because the CBDC would be an example of disintermediating all the banks, starting with the big banks down to all the banks, and then what is their business. So I think that that there will be alarmists that will say, oh, the CBDC is coming, get ready. I think that will sell a lot of Bitcoin. I think a lot of people will go and they will buy Bitcoin and you'll get a lot of campaign donations, right? But I think ultimately the political settlement will be digital currency will come not in the form of a stable coin. I think that they will eventually wind down because that's too much freedom. And the regulators are winding them down, like the Wells notice to BUSD, like the Custodia denial letter, like the move by the Canadian regulators to prevent you from trading stable coins on crypto exchange in Canada, like the denial of Tether in the US. So I think the regulators will move to clamp down on any non-KYC digital dollars. I think that no one is putting forth any CBDC legislation right now that I can see. There's no credibility there, a consensus. I think we're probably headed toward less digital currency. Like right now, there's $140 billion. At the peak, there were probably $160 billion of digital currency trading between Tether and Circle and other coins and UST. And I think we've already peaked, and I think we're going toward less of that. And then at some point, they will restart the digital currency initiative, and it will be an FDIC-insured bank approved by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury that they trust. And there will be a negotiated set of controls, like more than $10,000 will be reported and less than $10,000 will not be reported, and the records will be held by the bank and not by the U.S. government. And the libertarians won't like it, right? It won't make them happy. It's too much control. But at the end of the day, the authoritarians won't like it because it'll be too little control. But the United States has already shown that it's willing to actually use banks and bank wires to move money around and let JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Citigroup do whatever they're going to do.
CBDCs are approaching implementation, and according to Saylor, individuals will soon realize the government and private sector's control over cash, making it difficult to freely spend their capital. However, Saylor acknowledges several challenges in developing a digital dollar, including regulatory limitations, political conflicts, and the Federal Reserve's time-consuming process to establish a digital version of the currency. Now, let's proceed with the video.
The digital currency of every country will reflect the politics of the country and the philosophy of the country. So, in a place where there are no property rights, a Korea or a Cuba, they'll have completely overbearing implementations. In China, there'll probably be a very tight, transparent implementation because they're much more comfortable with that and they're more authoritarian. Every country in Europe has a different view. The point I would make there is there's an overwhelming demand for dollars, not euros. If you look at the digital currency demand, people would choose a digital dollar 97 or 98 to 1, 100x as often as a digital euro, even though they look similar. Nobody wants the euro, they want the dollar. And if you read the Custodia denial letter, the regulators made very clear that under no circumstance will they allow any bank in the world to issue a digital dollar that can circulate non-KYC. And that means no European country is going to issue a digital dollar. And of course, the conundrum is no European country has the power to issue the digital euro. The central bank of the EU is going to shut down Norway or Sweden. Sorry, I'm going to get myself in trouble. I better make sure I pick countries that are on the euro. They're not going to let any country that uses the euro issue a digital euro. And so there's going to be a massive political process in the EU Parliament over the nature of that instrument. They will resolve it based upon what the European Union feels. It might be more authoritarian than the US. It will be irrelevant to the question of the digital dollar because the decision of what the digital dollar is going to be decided in DC. And I don't see either the Republicans or the Democrats endorsing a CBDC right now. So I can't speak to the future of the digital ruble or the digital CNY, right? I mean, ultimately, that's a local political situation. What I can say is the world wants dollars. It wants dollars 100x more than it wants any of these other currencies. The dollar is the world reserve currency. The decision will be made by financial regulators in the United States in a dialogue with the legislators. I read thousands of pages of all the legal filings by the regulators, and they have hearings in Congress. I don't read the headline on Twitter. I listen to every minute of the 8 hours of the hearings. I listen to every utterance of every congressperson and every legislator. And so the last thing I did is listen to 9 hours of congressional hearings by the House Financial Services Committee. The first 6 hours grilling Gary Gensler on securities. The next 3 hours on stablecoin. There is one piece of legislation in Capitol Hill related to stablecoins. This is what it says. You're not allowed to issue algorithmic stablecoins like Do Kwon did. That's a bad thing. And then no one's allowed to issue a stablecoin unless the Federal Reserve says you're allowed to issue it, but we don't know how that'll happen ever, and there's no time frame to do that. So in essence, they said, you can't do this thing, and you can't do anything else, and there's no plan to be able to do anything else. That's what the bill says. Then the Congress people went on to speak about it. The Democrats said, we don't agree with this bill. The Republicans talked about whether or not, there should be a way to create a stable coin. No conclusion was made. There is no time frame to agree on a bipartisan bill. That meaning there is no way that there's going to be an agreement between the House and the Senate. There's no way there's going to be a bipartisan agreement, and there is no bill. There isn't even an idea to object to yet. And that's the most advanced piece of legislation with regard to digital assets. Everything else, not even on the table.
Pakistan recently announced a ban on cryptocurrency services and trading, citing the need to prevent illegal transactions and comply with FATF conditions. The ban aims to address concerns about terrorism financing and money laundering, as the country faces economic challenges. The decision has sparked mixed reactions, with some supporting it for national security reasons while others criticize it for stifling innovation. Experts warn of negative impacts on the economy and the crypto industry. Compliance with the ban risks asset loss, while defiance entails legal consequences. The future of cryptocurrency in Pakistan remains uncertain amidst global adoption hurdles. For more Daily Dose Crypto News, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.